Let's do some team reviews. First one goes to Quackers. This one I've been putting off a bit because of the scoring. The 16 team start 15 is probably IDPs, and I don't know how to give great advice across of this. So I'll do the best I can. Your team is Quackers, won championship. Go duck yourself. Really what I'll do is just talk about, like, hey, players I like, players I don't, players to make moves, pivots off of, down tiers or up tiers from. I'm just not as familiar with a 16-team, one quarterback and IDP, how much players equate to each other in trades. But generally I'll know rankings and who I think is a little bit undervalued, overvalued compared to the market. So we'll go a little bit quicker on this one. Expanding the site to support 16 teams and IDPs or kickers, defenses is not a top priority right now. So I'll thank you for submitting it. I'll do the best I can, and then we'll move on to the ones where I can help a little bit more. So of the 16, you are ranked as 6 among cumulative keep trade cut value. But really, I mean, if you're 69, that's not that different than 74 or 59. It'll just depend on where that value is. Like right now, opened up the wrong one. I was looking for Bo Nix. So like right now, your quarterbacks, Bo Nix, Dak Prescott, I mean, it's one quarterback, so you only have to start one of them. Bo Nix, I think, is a little bit overvalued. I don't know that he's actually an extremely talented quarterback. He just has a good rushing floor. And the team that he's on, the Broncos, made good use of his short throws. Dak Prescott is someone who's a little bit undervalued. Hey, he's going to be 32, but that's not old for a quarterback. He could play 2, 3, maybe even 4 more years and still be pretty good. So you're good at quarterback. I'm going to call it like a really strong 3 in a 1 quarterback league at 16. I guess you're hoping Bo Nix has a repeat of last year. Running backs, Breece Hall, Ken Walker, Trey Benson. And this is where it's going to start to get, once we get into running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, it's going to start to get a little bit harder for me to put a positional grade on these. Like 16-team league, and you're starting, I don't know how many of these guys need to start. It looks like you've got Breece Hall, Ken Walker. I really like Ken Walker for where his value is right now. And Breece Hall still at RB9, I think is a little bit like equating for a bounce back. Wide receivers, it looks like you've got a lot of your value in CeeDee Lamb. And from trying to guess how many guys are starting here, he's probably doing a lot of the heavy lifting for this team. Or there's some defensive players that I'm not seeing. Because if you're falling down to Cortland Sutton, Cooper Kupp, Sutton's really good piece for you. I don't know that you're going to want to move off of him. I'm not really seeing a ton of spots for flexibility other than a CeeDee Lamb down tier. But as I'm looking at your team, man, I'm out of my depth with a 16-team league where a lot of the starters aren't going to be shown here. And it's just not something that is a priority for the site. So I gave it a shot. I looked at it. I'm going to mark this one as completed and try to get on to the next one. Permanent rebuild. This one was for Devin. Where are you, Devin? Yeah, Devin MPH. Looks like you've changed your name. You are in a 12-team start 11 with a 1-point tight end premium. Looking at the team, was it Superflex? I've already forgotten. Yes, Superflex. Let's go position by position. We'll talk about where you're strong, where you're weak, where you can make some moves, if you're contending or not this year, and where you are for the next couple years. Quarterbacks, Brock Purdy, Tua, Aaron Rodgers, probably a 2. Like, there's not a strength here in flexibility. I'm a Tua believer. I think this 25 is kind of criminally low. People are just scared of a head injury. But if he's playing, he's probably not really any different than Jordan Love. Kind of that range, pocket passer, pretty good on an offense that not that long ago scored 70 points and can score a lot. Brock Purdy, I think, again, a little bit undervalued. I'd probably put him closer to like QB 10. So you're doing good here with production. It's hard to move these guys for the production value that they'll give you. So we're a little stuck. Permanent rebuild running backs: Barkley, Taylor, Henry, Mixon, Brian Robinson, Tank Bigsby. This is probably feeling like a 4. Like, you've got a lot of stuff here that you can move away. Saquon, Derrick Henry, Taylor, all getting up there in age, and Joe Mixon. Brian Robinson might be in his last year of relevance with the commies. We don't know what's going to happen when his contract runs out. So there's a lot of unknown here, but tons of production. Wide receivers: CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, DJ Moore, Devontae Adams. Really solid. Again, older, unknown future, but I think you know that. I don't know why it's called permanent rebuild. Maybe you're just like me and you don't ever really rebuild or go all in. Tight ends: Trey McBride, it's going to be a 4. Zach Ertz probably pushes this up to like a really, really good 4 or 5. So the team is contending this year. Even with Tua at quarterback, I think you're going to get a bounce back here. And this 88,000 in terms of keep, trade, cut value is probably just low. The market is low on Tua. The market is low on Aaron Rodgers compared to what he'll do this year. And the market's just perpetually low on Brock Purdy because he was the last pick of the draft. Like, that doesn't bother me. The 49ers have extended him as though he is an earlier pick in the draft. So I don't really care anymore. Draft capital somewhat matters on a rookie contract, but he's got an extension and it's a big money extension. So I feel good about both of these guys. I'm expecting a bounce back in value a little bit for Tua, but not really for production. He was producing really well last year when he wasn't concussed. Moves that can help you for the future. I mean, it looks like you've already shipped away your picks and you're kind of just going to ride this as long as you can. Like, you have no picks in 26, no picks of note in 27, and then 2 firsts in 28. So the spot where I would make any sort of moves is probably Saquon or Derrick Henry or Joe Mixon. I'd probably move 1 to 2 to maybe even 3 of them, especially Saquon. If you could get like a younger rookie guy, if you could get Travion Henderson and maybe a little bit more, or who I'm probably not. I mean, you could go for Judkins now. Your team can hold through the suspension. Like, you have enough running backs, enough viable flex pieces that you could hold Judkins through any suspension and be fine. You could similarly like look to make moves like that where you have enough value that you're contending now. You could take on 1 or 2 suspended pieces and just get the value win and still compete this year. Like, if Jordan Addison gets a 3-game suspension, you could hold that and be fine and buy the dip. You could buy the Quinshon Judkins dip. I don't really see any moves that you could make from your quarterbacks. And it's possible you could down tier from one of these guys after a year. You know, go for it in 25. And if these guys start falling off, the way to speed up your rebuild is like, well, I guess I got to move CeeDee Lamb while he still has value, down tier to a younger receiver and get a first back. So you could get JSN plus, like, with multiple picks back. Same thing with Trey McBride. You could down tier and get some picks back to speed up the rebuild if this doesn't work. But you're already set to go for it. The only thing I would really change is you don't need 3, 4 aging running backs. I would insulate some of the future and move off of one of them. And it's probably Saquon. Like, Derrick Henry's going to be playing at 31 and 32. Saquon's playing past 27, but I'm not going to. And Joe Mixon was good at 28 last year. Those are still somewhat outlier numbers. So I would be open to pivoting to wide receiver to a younger running back and a pick, things like that. But I think this team's probably making the playoffs this year and probably has a good shot to contend. Mark that one done. Hard Knocks Brad. I may have seen this team before. I've seen a couple for Brad M, and they all start to run together. So apologies if I have done this. I mean, maybe not really apologies. Apologies if I don't know your teams as well as you do when you comment to me. Okay, I think you've definitely sent in trade review questions for this team. I've seen this quarterback room. In a 12-team Superflex Start 10 PPR half-point premium, that's what Boom Bust leagues are. This quarterback room, like a 1 or a 2. Bryce Young is a solid young starter. QB 20 just has some of that bench stank on him. Like the guy got benched last year and then came back and was good. So he's 24. I'm willing to believe that he's improved. But then here we're trying to piece together another option like Anthony Richardson. I think this year can still have 25-point games. Like he can still chuck it far. He can still run. I don't know that he's talented enough to stay the starter in Indianapolis. I know the owner just came out and said he'll have every chance to earn it. And that's just normal. He's on his rookie contract, going into his third year. Like that's every fourth overall pick. Like you always have the chance to earn it. So it's nothing special that the owner says that. That's enough about your quarterbacks. I think you need to make a move there. And if you can get anyone to give you like a second for Anthony Richardson, I'd probably be fine with that. Running backs, Achane, Hampton, Swift, Pacheco. This feels like a 4. I really like Devon Achane. Hampton is probably a little bit high at 6 here, but it's not criminally high. He just, we'll wait for him to come on, get online, get up to NFL speed. I think you have DeAndre Swift if things aren't working out in week 1 with Hampton. Like Swift is probably a fine starter for a lot of the year and maybe starting at flex for you most of the year. I've talked about Achane a lot. I think he has RB1 overall in a PPR league upside. So I am into that. Wide receivers, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Ladd McConkey. This is a 4. Once we get to Khalil Shakir falling off, got 3 really strong options and then kind of nothing. So it might even be like a really strong 3. Tight ends, Jake Ferguson. Yeah, I think I've definitely done this review where I've said Ferguson is fine, and then we have 2 dart throws. And then we're looking at, you've already moved your first. And I want to say what I said last time. I feel like I've seen this team because I probably said I don't see that first in here. So this team is probably borderline contending. Like Hampton, Achane, Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Bryce Young. And if you get a quarterback somewhere, like you could go get Stafford as a cheap option. You could get Tua really cheap, and that's a low risk shot. Like Tua could be the difference that gets you into the playoffs and further into the playoffs. And he wouldn't cost too much for you. Like you could pull some value from Omarion Hampton or Ladd McConkey, do a down tier, pair a second with whatever you get from that, and come out with Tua. Like that's a real option for this team. If we're calling this a retool year and coming back in, well, we're not coming back in 26. So I feel like we got to do a down tier from Achane, Hampton, Neighbors, Thomas, or McConkey and get some sort of quarterback cheap option. And then Jake Ferguson's probably fine for you this year, but this team can go for it. So if we moved from Ladd McConkey or Hampton's probably going to give you the most value that isn't proven yet. So that's where I would start and try to get some sort of quarterback. And then another young running back there, or just ride with Achane, Swift, move Hampton, get a quarterback and a 4th receiver. Because if we try to get to 10, how bad is it feeling? 1, 2. Ferguson is 3, 4, 5, 6. He's probably starting for you 7, 8, 9. Khalil Shakir is a fine 10th. Not a ton of depth and not a ton of options. So if we reorganize some of this value, we can get a starting lineup that is able to make the playoffs. Otherwise, this is just kind of a punt year, and we should try to get more 26 picks. We'll mark that one done. We'll jump onto the real burn. The real burn. Where are you? Feel the burn. The very fake burn. This is going to get... Here's the real burn. Okay. If it's been a couple days since you've submitted and changed a team name, it doesn't sync on my end. But I found the real burn. Bernie. Bottom of the list, but it's not too extreme. So depending on who you have, like 9th could be a playoff team. 12 team, 1 quarterback, start 9. Let's take a look at it. Caleb Williams, Baker Mayfield. Like, yeah, you've got upside with Caleb, and Baker Mayfield is probably a top 10 quarterback again this year. He's got a lot of great receiving options. The coordinator change does worry me again, but not enough that we're really, that there's any flexibility. I feel like the fear of the coordinator change for Baker Mayfield and Tampa is already baked in at this QB 16 value. And in a 1 quarterback league, I don't know that there's that many options to move off of Baker. You could pivot from Caleb and get like Geno as a backup, and that'll help restructure this value to make you more of a contender or a playoff contender. Running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs, Travion Henderson. It's a really strong 1-2 punch. And then kind of nothing behind that. Maybe Bashal Tutin is great, but RB33, even that feels a little bit high to me. It's just a dart throw. So we have 2 guys and then nothing in flex weeks and nothing if there's an injury. Wide receivers, Tet McMillan, DJ Moore, Debo, Pat Bryant. Okay. Maybe we're feeling less like a playoff team here. Tight ends, Mike Gesicki, Zach Ertz. Both aging options, incredibly low value, but good production out of someone like Zach Ertz and sometimes out of Mike Gesicki. His production was pretty good when T. Higgins was out, but this is probably looking like a retool year. If we try to get to 9, how do we feel? Like Mayfield is okay. Really good running backs, 2, 3. And then when we're counting to 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like we don't even have 9 that we feel good about, and then no depth behind that. So this is probably looking like a year where we're retooling. And in that situation, I think we gotta do a down tier from Gibbs and get a couple firsts that are going to be rising in value for sure. Because you need this team, just the value that you have. We don't want guys that are leaky buckets like DJ Moore, Debo Samuel, even if they're playing well. DJ Moore at wide receiver 33, that's about right for him, but it's not going to go up. Even if it's really unlikely that it goes up. If he has a monster year and then at 29 looks more like a select, I'm trying to come up with comparisons of whose value that would match. There aren't a lot of 29-year-old receivers. So if he has a great year, I'm trying to think of how does DJ Moore values go up? It doesn't really. He's wide receiver 33. If he had a monster year and people started to view him similarly to like AJ Brown is 28 right now and probably QB 16. AJ Brown is thought of as wide receiver 14 by Keep Trade Cut. So the general dynasty community. And that would, he's 28. So this will get worse next year. So guys on your team like DJ Moore, even if he has a breakout year, is probably going to be looking at like wide receiver 18, 17. So he could maybe get up to what Tet McMillan's value is, but that's in the best case scenario. If this were my team, I'd be moving DJ Moore and Debo. That could probably get a first. I'm looking to get some firsts, and this is probably a retool because in 2026, adding one more player to this doesn't make me feel better that it's a playoff team, the way that the value is structured. So what I would do is like, let's wait and see if we get a boom out of Tet. I'm probably looking to take this Jahmyr Gibbs value and pivot so that it's accumulating value. So you do a down tier to, I would probably look for one of the rookies. You could do something like Judkins, who's not really going to hurt you this year because it doesn't feel like this is a playoff team. So then you just eat the suspension from Judkins. You'll gain value on that. The guy probably will sell you Judkins low if he's getting an amazing player like Gibbs, and then you're getting extra firsts to start restocking for your next run. Looking at this team, maybe Caleb has a great year, but it doesn't feel... It seems like you would have to get lucky. Starting 9 among 12 teams to finish in the top 6 and make a playoff run. Like, what would it take for that to happen? A huge year from Elijah Moore, kind of out of nowhere on Buffalo. A rookie breakout for Torrey Horton. Hollywood Brown fully healthy and great at 28. Like a breakout from Ayamanor. A lot of these stuff are just low percentage chances within the range of outcomes for these guys that I'm looking to tear some of this down and maximize value. Even the more I look at it, I'm probably saying like, we got to move Jahmyr Gibbs down to a younger receiver and picks, and at the same time be getting paid out on Debo. You're not really going to get anything for Christian Kirk, but I'd be taking Gibbs and saying you can only buy Gibbs if you pay me the full price for Debo, and then try to get that into as many first round picks as I can. Close that one up. The real burn, done. The queue, shrinking, but we've got a lot to get through. I'm a little bit behind on these. Among Us, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is in a 12-team, start 10, PPR, Superflex, half-point tight end premium. That is what the boom bust leagues are. If there are any other niche scoring settings, they just don't show right now. I'll add them in the coming weeks. So your team is at the top of the board, but it's a very tight board. And I mean, we'll see how we feel about the team, but let's not take this column too seriously, is basically the way I describe this. Superflex. So we've got some lower keep trade cut value options that are still going to give us good production. So I feel pretty solid about quarterbacks. Like, it's not going to hurt us. It's not going to win the league for us, but it's probably a very strong 2. I really like Kyler. There's no flexibility to move off of Tua, and I think he's going to outperform. He's going to give you way better than QB 25 production-wise. So we kind of just have to stick with him. Running backs, Josh Jacobs, Christian McCaffrey, Joe Mixon, James Conner. We're going to get really good production here and not a lot of flexibility to make moves. Like, I don't know how much you're going to get for Joe Mixon or James Conner compared to what they'll do for your team. Wide receivers, Brian Thomas, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Ricky Pearsall, Jerry Jeudy. And tight ends, Andrews, Likely, Kraft. This feels like a 3, a 4, and a 2. So a pretty decently rounded team. And you haven't done your 25 draft yet. So you're adding something. Where is this guy? DK Sportsbook. Donkey Kong Sportsbook is second, and they probably did all right last year. So we're adding a later round guy here. Could be a receiver like Ibuka or Golden, or I'm totally just guessing on what that pick is. But let's talk about your team as it is. Yeah, you're probably contending again. Jacobs, a bounce back from McCaffrey, Mixon and Connor as flex options. If we need to count out 10 players to fill out a starting lineup, we've got Murray, Tua. I feel totally fine about that. Any one of these tight ends is fine. So that's 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Judy as a flex, Sutton as a flex, these guys flexing on any given week. Like, yeah, you have enough to go for it this year. I think you're contending this year, possibly reloading it in the next year, and then probably contending again. Depending on how this first goes, you'll have a 26 first to just replace these guys as they fall out. Jacobs, McCaffrey, Mixon, Connor, Tyrone Tracy could all be done within 1 to 2 years. But I don't think that any of these guys will be. Brian Thomas, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Ricky Pearsall, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton might get added to that list, as well as Darnell Mooney. Bateman will be fine. I feel like the 62 is fine. He's flexible some weeks. And unless something extreme happens to Tua, like these quarterbacks will still be here, and Tua's value should go up throughout this year just from playing. Moves to make? If you could combine Mixon to Connor to up tier into a younger guy, I would look to do that. And then you're starting Judy or Sutton more often. And I don't think that's going to hurt you that much this year. And I don't know that it would hurt your playoff chances that much this year. So that's something I would look to do just to protect your future a little bit more. Either get younger here or make a 3-way trade with like Mixon, Connor, Judy, Mixon, Connor, Amon-Ra, and come away with 2 really good assets or 3 assets that are better in total than these 3, or like younger and safer for your future than those 3. Because like that's something you can do with a top tier player, is just use them to make other players on your team less volatile value. Otherwise, I think you've got a contending team. Like I like the value on Judy. I like the value on Sutton. We've got a bunch of older guys here, so I don't really want to go get another older veteran. I mean, I guess most veterans are older, but I think we've got enough vet options. You've got youth coming in this year. If this is an early first, somehow I'm trading back to try to get another first at any point if I can, or trade back to up tier a player, or like take this first and Joe Mixon and come away with a younger running back, something like that. Those are options. We'll wrap this one up. I'm expecting you to contend, and then it looks like a lot of guys I'm expecting, I don't know which ones will finally age out, but Connor, Mixon, McCaffrey, Jacobs are all candidates to age out after this year. We just completed that one. Next up, Perfect 10, Won't You Be My Neighbors? 10 team, 1 quarterback, start 9. So really more of a shallow league. PPR, no tight end premium. Butch, you are at the top by a pretty sizable margin. That doesn't mean you'll win the championship, but just off this column, I'd be surprised if you didn't make the playoffs, but let's take a look. Looks like we've done the rookie draft for this year in a 1 quarterback league. Okay, so having this much value, this would all be super flex value, and this is a 1 quarterback league. So you're going to have a ton of value just in this column that doesn't really actually apply to your league. So when you're looking at this is just kind of it's not a bug, but definitely a weakness of the site, is that it's tailored for Superflex. It doesn't change the values if we're not in Superflex. So QB7, QB8, QB15 is all true based on Keep Trade Cut rankings, but this column won't be accurate because these guys just don't have nearly as much value in a 1 quarterback league, and you know that. Of these 3, I'm probably just keeping Kyler and selling these 2 for whatever I can get and grabbing like Geno to be a backup, Stafford, Aaron Rodgers. If we're at the top of the value column, I don't need 3 quarterbacks. If you want to wait and see if Drake May becomes Josh Allen, you can with this much, but then you definitely got to move Herbert. And personally, I don't know that I would. I'd rather just cash out now while he's thought of as QB7 and lock that in elsewhere. But you got a ton of options here at quarterback. Let's look at your running backs. Chase Brown, Caleb Johnson, Chuba Hubbard. It's okay. It's like a 3. We'll see what happens with Caleb. Like, there's always upside with a rookie. We just haven't seen it. Chuba Hubbard is a fine RB2. Tony Pollard probably will start some games for you. J.K. Dobbins, I think sleeper, will start some games for you. And you got a ton of dart throws. So you're okay. You're just not winning your league from your running back column. And as my eyes scan over to your wide receivers, this is where you're winning the league. This is probably a 5. Chase, Neighbors, London, incredible. JSN, really, really good. This is probably filling out all of your flex spots. Rashee Rice, you can just eat the suspension with a team this good. Ricky Pearsall has a ton of upside. Chris Olave, a ton of upside. And then I guess Pat Bryant is here too. This feels like the stat about Wayne Gretzky and his brother have combined for the most points and assists in NHL history. And it's all just Wayne Gretzky. That's how I feel about these receivers. And then Pat Bryant is here. It's just not. I can move on. I don't need to keep dunking on Pat Bryant before he's played any snaps in the NFL. Tight ends, Trey McBride, amazing. Like your team is ready to go. If we're starting, 9 guys, even in a shallower league, you're set. You're going Murray 1, Brown and Johnson 2, 3, Trey McBride 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, somewhere between these. Like, you've got a solid 9 and options to grow, and options to grow in value, and then a lot of youth. So what can we do here? Like, can you take a future first? What does it take in a 1 QB league to take these quarterbacks, Drake May and picks, to go get Josh Allen? Go get the best option. That's kind of the value that you have. Or up tier, I would personally hold Rashee Rice just because you can. Don't sell low when he's not going to really hurt your playoff chances. But send a up tier from really any of these guys. Any sort of 2-for-1 combo you can do to get Justin Jefferson. Like, go for it. Can you take Drake May, Drake London, pair up the Drakes, and go get the other best receiver? Maybe. See what you can get with a team like this. It's time to go for it. You could combine 2 of these guys into another young stud and try to grab Devontae Adams as well. That way you're getting like more youth, more production out of one slot, and then getting really good production out of a last slot. Like, if Rashee Rice is suspended and we're starting Ricky Pearsall or Olave, I feel safer starting Devontae Adams there. So use some picks, go get him, move Drake May, move Justin Herbert, and go get some of these guys that are just going to solidify things. So for this team, we're talking about AJ Brown is probably cheaper than his production, and you can have an older guy on your team. Like, he's 28 and no one else is over 26. You're fine. DK Metcalf seems a little bit riskier. Like, he's a veteran guy who 27 and will outproduce his value, but you're shooting for studs. So you want to go get like AJ Brown. Mike Evans can be really good. Devontae Adams can still be really, really good. These guys just in their last 1 to 2 years of their career, but you're trying to get top 10, top 15 wide receiver production. I'd probably hold with these guys or try to up tier from Hubbard to get someone that you feel a little bit safer about. Or just go get Derrick Henry. Like, move Hubbard down. It would be a bit of a value down tier to just go get Derrick Henry and get really good three guys. Of these 3, Chase Brown could lose some role this year. Hubbard could lose some of his role this year. If you just lock that in with Derrick Henry, you know what he's going to do for probably 1 year, and you're going for the championship. And you have enough value to restock as he retires. You can take on 2, maybe 3 veterans really easily on this team and just eat their retirement. Done on that one. Brotherly Shove is next. Where are you? Top of the board. Top of the board into you. 10 teams, start 10, Superflex, PPR, half point premium. Have not done your rookie draft. I'll try to find Reek Seeking Missile. We're in July. This will get fixed or finished by next offseason to show the actual pick that you have. It's just a bit confusing on the it's just a bit of like monotonous work to get it all wired up with how Sleeper has that stuff done. But you have it from Reek Seeking Missile, who may have had a bad year with the quarterbacks that they have last year, but I'm not really going to guess or talk a ton about that first. Let's go through Superflex, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Bo Nix. That's like the best 4 you can have in terms of a rating, like a 4-star out of 5, but at the top of 4. Running backs, Gibbs, Swift, ETN, Javonte Williams, Ramondre. So we've got some older maybes, a dart throw in right. I mean, Travis Etienne falls into that older maybe. Rashad White might start games for you. And then Zamir White. Oh, man. He always sucked. So running backs, it's probably a 3. Gibbs doing a ton of the heavy lifting. Swift is going to be sneakily better than running back 28. He's got some of that age, so maybe we're looking at one more year of top 24 production from him. But you're looking already like you're a contending team, so that's okay to have a cheap RB2 who just gives you RB2 numbers. Nothing wrong with that. Wide receivers, Brian Thomas, Rashee Rice, Jalen Waddle, Cortland Sutton, Rashad Bateman. It's like a 3. Brian Thomas had a really good rookie year. We hope that continues, but it might take a step back. The offense is entirely changing. They're adding another great option. I don't know what's going to happen. Rashee Rice probably getting a suspension. This team might be able to just survive that. 10 team, if we only need to start 10, what are we looking at? We'll close out this guy. We're looking at Hurts and Bo Nix or Kyler as 2, Brock Bowers as 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you'd be starting Bateman if Rice is suspended, or Ramondre, or your rookie pick. So you're contending this year, can probably have enough value to contend next year, and so on. There's not really anyone that we're worried about losing that is irreplaceable. Like Swift and Sutton are both replaceable in the next 2 years. With this team, though, like we can't afford 3 quarterbacks. This value column, it doesn't mean that you're the second best team if your value is structured with 3 quarterbacks and you're only starting 2. Like one of these guys has got to go. My option would be Bo Nix, especially if of one of these 9 guys is a big Bo Nix believer. I'm in a startup right now and someone just traded up to the 203 to get Bo Nix there ahead of guys like Mahomes, ahead of guys like Drake May. Obviously, you're not going to have that in every league, but chop. There's probably a big Bo Nix believer. And if you cash out at QB9, QB8 value, even if he's still good, that's fine. If someone paid full price, that's okay because you'll get all of that back and you'll get a great receiver, you'll get a great running back, or you'll get picks for your future. You have enough value to contend, but having Nix or Kyler on the bench most weeks, of the 14-week regular season, there's only 2 bye weeks for your other guys. So that's 12 weeks of most of your value doing nothing on your bench. You got to get it somewhere else and get a cheap third option, or just go without one. If you can get enough great pieces that, there are some teams that have enough wide receivers and running backs to just play one of them instead of Geno for the 2 bye weeks. But I'd look at Geno, Stafford, Aaron Rodgers. which are probably cheaper in a 10-team start 10 and down tier from one of those guys. From your team, you have a tight end premium. I don't know that I feel like this team can afford the luxury of Brock Bowers. Elite tight ends is not a main priority for me. So if you can get someone who wants to up tier and pay the full tight end premium Brock Bowers price, I'm looking to get wideouts, get running backs. If no one will do that, then my next bet is Jahmyr Gibbs. Just with teams like this that aren't completely elite, it's hard to afford a stud running back and a stud tight end. Running backs just fade more quickly than other positions, and then tight ends are just not as important. You can go get good production from a different player and you'll feel better with the wide receivers that you end up with. That's what I would do here. I think you're going for it, and I think this team, barring catastrophic thing, Rashee Rice exploding a car on the interstate happening to everyone on your roster, you're contending for a while. Next, review the Free Ballers tripod. We're going to make this one the last one for this video, and then I'll prep for the live stream. Free Ballers tripod, Jacob Zander. You are in a 10-team, 1 quarterback start 10 PPR. If there's a kicker or defense in this league, and sometimes there are in 1 quarterback leagues, I don't know about it. So I'm just going to talk about it as though it's a 10-team start 10, 1 quarterback. With your 1 quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Brock Purdy, it's like a 4. It's really, really good. It's not a top 5. It's not a 5 out of 5, but it's really solid. We probably want to pivot from one of these guys, though, and have a cheaper backup option. We're just not going to start Brock Purdy most of the time, although it's hard to do that in a 1 quarterback league. Running backs, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Zach Charbonnet. A strong 3. I mean, the storylines with James Cook are shifting a lot, and in a long offseason, we don't want to forget, he's just good. Some of the storylines about him right now are James Cook went from 2 touchdowns to 18 touchdowns, and now he'll regress. But he was a fine running back with 2 touchdowns. So if he goes down to 8, he's still good. He's still very talented on a very good offense. I'm not really worried about that. And all of that regression is already built into his price here. So it's hard to move on from him. All I'm really saying is you can feel safe with James Cook. Jonathan Taylor, there was a time when 27 was the last good year for running backs. I don't know that Jonathan Taylor is one who... Is he Dalvin Cook, who's not good after 27? Is he Zeke? Is he David Johnson? Is he Le'Veon Bell, who all have their best or their last good year at 27? Maybe. And we're looking at 26, so maybe 1 to 2 more years. Possibly. We don't know. So I feel okay about this team for this year. There's a lot of fluctuation that could happen, though. Wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, Xavier Worthy, Jalen Waddle, Olave, Shakir. Yeah, there's definitely something going on with the lineup here. There's just not enough players for a 10-team start 10. Or you guys have really, really shallow benches. I'm going to guess there's something else going on. You can let me know in the YouTube comments. But with this lineup, I'm going to take a guess and say some of this start 10 is like IDPs, defense, or kickers. And then in a 10-team, 1 quarterback, how do I feel about this team? It's okay. It's probably a playoff team. But Kittle and Hawkinson are going to produce really well. Jefferson, really, really good. Burrow. So if I try to put this into like startup rounds, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like, this is an okay startup draft team. I think I'm just not seeing the full scope of what your team is and the lineup that you need to start. So what I'll say here is, unless you have like really good options at other spots that I don't see here, I don't know that we can afford Joe Burrow or can take the risk to see how much touchdown regression happens. This offense needed to throw a lot to stay in games last year. That doesn't carry over really from year to year as much as people think it does. And more importantly, like when maybe you're watching this and you're saying like, but people are saying it right now. Like, this never gets checked. Right now in the NFL preseason, when people say the Bengals are gonna have to throw this year, so we should bump them up in ranks. At the end of the year, no one ever goes back and says, did they need to throw? Could they throw? Is what we said true? So generally, if a player's value is this high and people are saying those types of things, I move him down. And with Burrow, it's probably a little bit to like QB5, QB6. So if you could get someone to pay full price and you ride with Purdy, who's going to be a top 10 quarterback, that's an option for this team, or get a different quarterback there. And then I just don't know what the rest of this team is. I'm not sure if you can afford Justin Jefferson. Like, what that means is if Justin Jefferson, if you're not making the playoffs and contending, we may want to down tier to get more value in your lineup. I'm going to stop rambling because I don't think this site is showing this correctly, but I'm going to mark it as complete. You let me know in the YouTube comments if there's something way different about it that could help me talk about it more and resubmit if you like. But I think a lot of this stuff here, if you're using a more niche setting, I'm just not going to know about it. So I'm going to stop the recording here. We got a good chunk. We'll do a bit more on another day.